It's kind of crazy to say that a drug addict loves destroying themselves, you know? I don't think it really works. Like, do any of them agree with that? But I just think if you love something enough, you're willing to make the sacrifices. You're willing to put yourself in that mode, in that zone, whatever the hell you're doing, you know, and there's a lot of different circumstances of this, you know. And if you just take a look at it, a lot of it's similar, you know, and just like love with another person. You know, a lot of the time what happens is you love someone or you end up loving them for a period of time, whether that be 5 days or 5 years or 50 years or 500 years. Wow, that's eternal. That's eternal matrimony right there. That was true love. That was that was the most significant love ever. That was extreme love. That was hardcore love. You know, not everyone's really a fan of love, particularly because, you know, some people can just be smart. Not to say they're beyond love, but maybe they just wish they could love. Maybe they wish they were in love. Maybe it's never going to find them, you know? So maybe being in love with something that's going to destroy you is actually a good thing, in a certain sense. Whenever you look at it, I mean, a lot of the stuff out there, if you love it, there's, you know, it's going to eat you alive, right? So either way, there's going to be a bad side to it. I mean, I think there's a bad side of loving anything. Just think about this. Say you're a car enthusiast and you love cars, and maybe you're very interesting, or you have some kind of, or you're interested, you have some kind of aspect there, right, where you're kind of this car guy, right, this car person. There's a lot of these people online, a lot of people that make tutorials, and so depending on how extreme you you are into it, you know, because some people have these cars that they don't even need. You don't need that car. You just love the car and the way it makes you feel, especially if it's a classic. And because when it zooms by, it makes anybody feel a certain way about it, especially if it's a really unique car. You know, it's a piece of history. It's amazing. It's quality. You know, it's incredible that you still have this ancient piece of metal driving around. But anyways, besides, you know, ancient cars, you know, newer cars, and there's all sorts of cars. So in that addiction, though, you have this interest in the look and the feel, and you know everything that has to do with cars. I actually wrote an essay for my GED about cars and actually got a D on it, which is kind of funny because I actually ended up being a writer, and independent writer. Arguably terrible. No, I'm pretty decent. I'm actually coming out with some new stuff. Actually, I have to go over and write these. Write. I'm finishing a book right now. Actually, got a couple pages left. But you know, just take a look at you know, this person, this car enthusiast, and so like, what would be the bad side of that? Well, I think the bad side of really being into anything is you don't have time for anything else, which you probably don't care about, but really it can be significantly detrimental to your intellect, you know, what you understand as far as reality. Because, like, if you're so into something that you'll learn about it and it's not a chore to you, because that's what it is. Like, if someone likes fishing or hunting, or if they like cars, or if they're like video games, or if they like computers. Some people like computers, but maybe they're not into video games so much. It's almost like there's this big phenomenon or this geek culture online that they like more, they like talking about computer parts and building computers, and they probably even like actually playing video games or using them. So you know, you just have all these different people, and when you're interested in something and it's like more of a task to learn something else, and that's where you have people that can flex, they can, you know, they can bend a little bit, you know? They can go and be interested by something else because it's less stressful to pay attention to it. You know what I mean? So, if you think about it, that's crazy to think about, right? The only reason why you're not into something and you don't learn a bit more about it is because it's stressful to you to think that you could learn it. And maybe that's part of what's going on with people, and they're ill confident. They don't have the self-esteem to be like, I can learn this thing, which is pretty crazy because maybe they're just in an emotional hiccup and they're dealing with some kind of trauma or some kind of thing in their head, or this whole cluster of almost like, I was gonna say steroids, no, a cluster of tumors. So like there's almost like this cluster of tumors, which is almost like this mental blockage of them really even realizing anything outside of their own intellect, or almost like not being able to branch out like a tree. Like my brain's kind of like a tree, it can kind of just spread out. It's probably like more like spreads more like cancer than a plant. My roots dig into my boots, and there we go, cahoots. I don't know, I wasn't trying to connect it that well there. I'm not trying to be a lyricist right here in the moment. I can be a lyricist though. I can take on the form of a lyricist. I can take on many forms, many shapes and forms. I am shapeshifter. Shapeshifter artisan in theaters this winter. One man, one artisan, one flexible brain. He's able to do so much, to learn so much. The ultimate hobbyist. Me. Shapeshifting artisan. You're going to see my movie, right? Mr. Shapeshifter. Mr. Shapeshifter, what you shapeshifting? I don't know. That just took a turn right there. That took a turn right there. Okay, that took a turn. Took a turn. But yeah. So it's kind of weird when you think about that. Like, say you love a particular person, right? And you learn things from people. They teach you things that maybe they're not even trying to teach you because you're observing things from people, or there's a lot that goes into just more of the human brain interaction, because I feel like on an emotional level you kind of have different experiences and you learn almost like your emotions learn the way you feel about stuff. You learn how to feel, so it's not really like a technical brain, like logical computing, punching notes into a keyboard type analytical process, you know so like if you love one person, you might be missing out on another person, right? And that's the whole thing, is maybe you kind of got the person for all they are, but the love will keep you there and you're into it. Because it's really about you being into it. If you feel like, and I almost feel like that's the whole love, that's what kind of love is to us. When we love something because it relieves stress, it makes us feel like we belong. It makes us feel like it's something that we can appreciate. It belongs, like it makes you feel you belong and they belong and you want to belong, but maybe you're just this genre of a personality that was influenced to act and speak the way that you do. Speech patterns and thought patterns developed from a societal, impulsive societal force, that just kind of made you who you are, which is pretty crazy because, like, honestly, my personality is like hundreds of years of innovation that led to now. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fancy, fancy car that took a lot of time to build. You know what I mean? This is elegant. This is an elegant experience right here. Okay, guys? Look, I built myself like a car. But anyways, I don't even know what the hell where this. I just thought of this idea and I tried to go with it, and that's kind of what I do here. I try to th- brainstorm and pun off of a unique thing that I thought of. So another aspect that I was kind of get at, like, let's say gaming. It's kind of the same thing. Like, if you're into gaming a lot and you play games all the time and that's what you do, you're going to be missing out on some other things in life. You're not going to learn certain things because it's too stressful to do that other stuff, because gaming gaming's crazy because people are just not very good, but they keep on going and believing they're good based on the off chance that they get lucky and play against some bad players and then make themselves feel good when in reality they're probably not that good. But they can, they got to keep their self esteem intact, right? But I think to a certain extent, It's kind of like smart people. Like if you're a true smart person, you probably know how smart you are. If you're a true gamer, you probably know how good you are. So it gets pretty crazy though, especially when it comes to game. But that's what I'm saying is like even though it's such a challenge, or even though you might not really be like, is the community or like society going to recognize you for your accomplishments in gaming? That's just kind of a crazy thing to think about. And it's kind of getting into an in-depth conversation here of sacrifices, what you're paying attention to, what makes you think that you this is a stress-free environment. And I guess, if you want to talk about a game, it's like, well, I'm living in a different reality now where say I kill this person and I win, or even I try. The idea of you even being able to win, right? That's what keeps people going. Like, if I keep playing this, I might win one game out of 150 or 15, maybe, depending on what you're playing. You know what I mean? And of course, casual gaming enables you so much easier. So it's like, oh, it's so much easier to win, but it can't be too easy. You know what I mean? It's got to challenge you a little bit. But then some people probably, what challenges them probably isn't much. But that's when you get into an intermediate and more advanced gaming. So me, I'm a more advanced gamer. So it takes a lot to satisfy me, especially when I can see I'm almost just brainwashed into guzzling every single brain sensation that a video game hammers my way. But this is my point though. If I really love gaming, then I'm not going to quit gaming. But how much do I love gaming? That's the whole thing. And that's almost what it becomes is with the more hardcore gamers, it's like, this is me. I love this. This is my passion. This is everything to me. And that's what, some people have with more extreme relationships, because I feel like even someone who's so focused on something else, they're not so much into like a physical relationship with another human being, or the love you can find there. So you got all this different stuff and different standpoints and stuff and different, you know, and so I think there's different attributes and there's different negatives to really loving anything, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And does a drug addict love drugs? Do they love heroin? They love cocaine? They love meth? Yes, they do love them, but there's a negative part to it. So, and with that, it can be a lot more serious than a video game addiction. But and this gets into the territory of the pros and cons and what's worse or better for you when you get into different hobbies and stuff. And I think if you think about one man and what they're able to understand in their lifetime, what they're able to master, honestly, the expectations aren't much, dude. Like, it's really not. Like, say you were just like good at repair, like you got a degree, like 2-year degree, 4-year degree at something, like repairing cars or something, or or like something like that. And maybe you're not just a total crazy, extreme, hardcore grease monkey, but say you were enough to get a decent job, and that's really all you need for the rest of your life. So why would you even be watching this podcast unless you loved listening to people talk about stuff? That's all it is. Either you love listening to people talk, or you love thinking about stuff. You love getting fresh information from a unique perspective, or you just love the person's presence. So there's different kinds of fans. That's another territory I was getting in. So this gets pretty advanced here. Okay, this is pretty like took into the see. Then that's me. Is I'm such an extreme critical thinker that I will, you know, I'll take it there. But um, for me personally, there's a lot of things I've yet to learn. And so to pretend like I know it all, or like if someone said something to me in a video where I was trying to analyze something or make a statement about something or have an interesting idea to digest, I wouldn't expect me to be all knowing and you know, all powerful brain, because that's a love right there, is loving the idea of you being empowered by your thought processes. But I think it is definitely a thing worth thinking about, like to a certain point, if you love something enough, is it really an addiction? When you just love it so much that that's your life, that's your purpose, you know? And so just look at someone like, hey, they love heroin so much that it took their life or something, you know, and you know, that is kind of a hard conversation I have to say they were in love with it more than it was controlling them, which is kind of a weird thing too. But some people like being controlled. So this it's kind of a hard thing to say that yeah, people who are addicted to drugs just love drugs and they're willing to face the negative risks and defects from that in order to do it. Or are they just addicted, right? That's crazy. That's crazy to think. And you just weigh all the negativities and the pros and cons of and all of the things I just said. And I think my brain's overloaded now. But yeah, it's a lot to process. Well, I'm out of here. Have a good one.